Alrighty. All right. How are we all doing this evening? How are we all doing this evening? I didn't realize it was only 7 p.m. I don't know why, for some reason I thought it was a bit later. I was thinking like this would be a live that would go on till about that'd be like, till 9 at night or something like that. Apologies if you hear that beeping. Yeah, that tablet just makes so much goddamn noise. I don't know why. Like it just beeps at the most random little thing. So apologies if that is there. I'm just going to have a quick listen to how this sounds on screen. Yep, that sounds all good. That sounds all good. So let's get a few people in the chat. Let's have a talk. Let's have a talk about Fury versus Usyk. We'll also have a talk about last night's boxing action. Obviously, Nicky Ball made a successful defense of his WBA title last night. That was a good little watch. That was a good little card that Frank Warren put on. I personally, excuse me, I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a decent little scrap. 16 people in the building. Let's get a few more in. Let's get a few more in. Let's get the likes building. Let's hit the like button. If you haven't already, do please do that. Just do please consider hitting the like button. It really does help me out big time. I need to pause that flipping thing because that tablet that I have sitting there has just been like unreal. Unreal. It just keeps on beeping, beeping, beeping for like the dumbest little thing. It's so flipping frustrating. It really, truly is. When I was reading it with when I was quoting Tyson Fury on one of his like previous quotes there, I was using that. The thing just would not like. I don't know what's wrong with it, but yeah, I think that's the kind of main thing we need to talk about is the Tyson Fury Oleksandr Usyk situation because Tyson Fury now it seems like he was calling Oleksandr Usyk this, that, and the third. He was calling him that, this, that, and the third in the run up to their first fight. But right now, he is really not happy with Team Usyk, and this could be a good thing. He's been talking defiantly about keeping his team the same, saying he knows what to do. Now, with Tyson Fury, and I'll talk maybe more about this in a separate video. With Tyson Fury, he tends to do better in rematches, certainly from what I've seen anyway. In the few rematches he has had, he's tended to do better. Now, you have to take into consideration John McDermott is not a top fighter, and that was a very, very long time ago. He did start, he looked very bad in that fight in terms of aesthetically, but he did do much better second time around against Derek Chisora. The first fight he won on points, the second fight he won in 2015 or 2014. And again, that was people can look and say, oh, Derek Chisora, still a fairly useful Chisora, to be fair. Still a fairly useful Derek Chisora, to be fair. And he did well in that. We obviously know about the Wilder fight, but that level is completely different to the level that Oleksandr Usyk operates at. And a much younger Tyson Fury, a Fury who was certainly, if you take the Chisora fight into consideration, he hadn't gone through losing God knows how much weight and all that. So it's a different situation now. But let's have a quick read of some of the comments. If Fury doesn't get Usyk out in 4 or 5 rounds, he's not winning. I say that as an Usyk fan. This won't be an easy fight. Do you know something? When they announced the rematch first, and I heard what Tyson Fury was saying, I thought it would be much the same for Oleksandr Usyk. He still doesn't seem to, maybe he's doing this for the camera, I don't know, but he's still holding on to that belief. And it is a belief. It's completely misguided belief that he got robbed and, he won the fight, this, that, and the other. But he's saying now he needs to go in for a knockout. So essentially, he is saying he wants to change things. So he's going to be more aggressive. And I think that aggression is what he needs. The problem with being aggressive against Oleksandr Usyk is very good at adjusting. It's not as straightforward to say you need to be aggressive against Usyk and that will win you the fight. In theory, you need to be aggressive against them. It will help you, yes. But just being aggressive, it's not like that's going to solve everything. Usyk is very good at adjusting. And believe me, when he adjusts, you look at Dubois, he was able to adjust after round 5. Dubois was never able to land as clean a body shot on him. So Usyk is great at adjusting. So if Fury does become more aggressive, it could help him. But at the same time, it could be a lot more dangerous for him. But I get the impression as well that for Oleksandr Usyk, this fight in December, and I think we will get it. I've always said that. I think we'll get it in December. I don't think it's going to be easy for him. I don't. I think Fury's going to come with something to prove. But the problem is that if it's a chaotic corner again, how is that going to? I don't know. Been really enjoying your videos for a while. As a Ukrainian, I love to hear. I'd love to hear where you want to see Loma go next. God bless you eternally. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that very much so. Well, as many of you will know, I'm a big fan of Lomachenko. I do think, though, that the Tank Davis situation, if you've got a belt, if you can unify, you should be there to unify. I know he's taken a bit of a break, so to speak, is probably the best word to use. I think that Lomachenko is going to be one of those fighters we look back from in years to come. Because I think he's a tremendous talent. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And I think people will look and say, God, he was something else when you look back at his career, because he was tremendous. I think we're near the end of both Oleksandr Usyk and Vasily Lomachenko. I think two of the greatest amateurs you'd ever want to see, two of the greatest fighters to ever come out of Ukraine. And I wouldn't be surprised if both guys have maybe a fight or two left. Wherever Loma wants to go, I mean, I personally would like to see him unify. Or I don't even know who his mandatory is, but at the very least fight a mandatory. But we shall wait and see what he does next. Top Boxing Channel, keep up the good work. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think undisputed fight should be 15 rounds. God, the last 15 round title fight, I think was in the late 90s. I think I could be wrong on that one. But yeah, 15 rounds. It's incredible to think, isn't it, that boxing used to be 15 rounds. You know, I was listening to Hatman's podcast, his live stream there on Friday night. And he was mentioning that it was even longer than that back in the day. I mean, yeah, if you go back into, I think Joe Louis was the last fighter to fight in a scheduled 20 rounder for a title, for a heavyweight title. I'm not sure when the last scheduled 20 round like title fight was, but I know in the 1930s, Joe Louis, he didn't go to full. I think he knocked the guy out in the 14th round. I forget who it was now, but I know he went 14 rounds into a scheduled 20 rounder. So they used to do that. Jack Johnson, way back in the 1910s, some of his fights were scheduled for 45 rounds. Imagine that. 45 rounds. And those 45 round fights, obviously they fought. If you go and look at how they fought back then, it's nothing like today. It was a very, very slow pace. But still, 45 rounds by 3 minutes, that's just, yeah. How do you do that? I don't know how mentally you do that. In terms of 15 rounders, you know, I think Dooku Kim, Ray Mancini, Dooku Kim, that was the starting point of them winding down the 15 rounders. Obviously, I've watched 15 rounders on YouTube, but I was never a boxing fan in a time when they were the thing. So I can't really compare what it would have been like for a fan. I mean, I seen Joe Stunner there in the chat. He probably would have seen, shout out to Joe Stunner, he probably would have seen a couple of 15 rounders in his time. And that's no disrespect. He would have probably seen a couple of them. I think we need to remember, while Fury may be improving, Usyk certainly will. Usyk is going to come in even better, and we need to factor that in. Oleksandr Usyk has even said he knows the mistakes he made. He's looking to right them. So, man, we could see a better Fury, but we could also see a better Usyk. Just going to say, there's 60 in the building. There is 60 in the building, and I've only got 18 likes. 18 likes. That come on. We got to get more likes up than that. Because the likes are a big important thing here on YouTube. Big. So, if you could, I'd appreciate you please smashing the old like button, hitting that old like button, getting those likes up, because they really do help your boy out big time. I think Fury's arrogance will be his undoing. The fact that the corner will stay the same is crazy. As long as John is in his corner, he's no chance. Do you know what, right? Do you know what? I think that John Fury might actually be a little bit different this time around. And I'll tell you why. He's gone missing, so to speak. I think we maybe briefly seen him at the Joshua show, but he didn't say much. He genuinely didn't say much. I don't remember him saying much then. I wonder has he been humbled, so to speak. I wonder has he been humbled now. I wonder has he been humbled a bit, and he might still be in the corner, but will he tone it down a little bit? Do you think the ref situation? Do you think the ref situation was mentioned by Team Usyk and seeks changes? The ref situation was mentioned by Team Usyk and seeks changes. I don't. What was the ref situation? Were they complaining that the fight wasn't stopped in the ninth round? Even the G-Man house the London move going. Watch the space is all I'll say on that one. Watch this space. I'm not going to give too much away on that. I know Joe Stunner in the chat. He knows the situation. Just watch the space on that. Let's call a spade a spade. Do you think we could see any? Do you think we could see anyone fighting this weekend? Do you think we could see anyone fighting this weekend on the Usyk Fury card if they come through injury free? Well, Sarah Metten is probably a European level fighter. He can't really punch, and he's taken some beatings in his time. So if Eubank Jr. can come through him, okay, there's the potential. I do find it strange that they've not made any announcements whatsoever on the undercard for Fury versus Usyk. Although saying that, they were very quiet and tight-lipped about Joshua versus Dubois until, like, we didn't know about the undercard until they announced the press conference, which was the day of the press conference. So they've been a bit more tight-lipped on that. So I suppose I am a little bit worried because you're just kind of like, oh, you want to know and you want to get planning, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Whittaker or a Eubank on it. No, they're not in the most high-profile fights, so they very well could. And big up to Joe Stunner. Easy win for Usyk. I don't know why, but I just don't feel it will be. I think he probably will win, but man, I can't wait. I can't wait. Man, it's going to be epic. Beterbiev should beat Bivol. I'm doing my prediction video probably tomorrow. Probably tomorrow morning. I'm off work tomorrow, so I'm just going to do some vids in the morning before I get busy. And I'll probably do that pick then because I'm going to record a review of the week tonight. But yeah, I'm not as convinced that Usyk. I know you've said that a few times, mate. You've said that a few times that you're not as convinced that the fight will go ahead as planned. To be honest with you, right? I think we will get it. I think at one stage I would have agreed with you. I would have said, you know what, they're going to wait and see what happens with Joshua Dubois. If Joshua Dubois goes the way of Anthony Joshua, especially if he struggles, I wouldn't be shocked if Fury did look to go down that road. But now I think he's just kind of right. Let's do Usyk again. And he's still, the crucial thing is Fury is still mentioning Anthony Joshua. So I think that he's always going to look at that fight as kind of a, if I win, happy days, it's a big fight. If I lose, I can have that fight and sail off into the sunset. Get rid of that clown Ainsley. What do you replace him with, though, man? What do you replace him with? Okay, let's replace him with that. What about that? Is that better? Let's replace him with that. Good old Pricey. And we like David Price. Yeah, after Dooku Kim. I remember that. Fury is full of, Fury just, I've never seen a fighter like him. No camera is likely hurting you on the algorithm. See, the only reason why I have no camera on this evening, now I could pop it on, there you go, is I like to, for these lives, bring in the mic out because it sounds good and it sounds better. StreamYard is weird. For some reason, when you bring the normal mic that I use, it never quite sounds as good when you do it on StreamYard. So I always plug it in here to the laptop. The laptop camera is, I can see it there. It's not terrible, but it's not great at the same time. So I will stick with the avatar for the time being anyway. I'll stick with the old avatar for the time being. AJ, man, do you still believe Subriel Matias is a bad man? Hell yeah, I do. I think Liam Barrow is just that good. I think Subriel Matias is still very, very, very good. No, we haven't. We've seen him around all right. But yeah, we haven't seen much of John Fury. I mean, I was convinced that John Fury would be the loud one. When Fury lost, I was like, wait, you see, John, because you remember when Hughie Fury lost to Joseph Parker? That was just before the kind of, I don't want to say rift, but that was when Tyson and John were still close with Peter and Hughie. How vocal John Fury was in the ring. I mean, there's clips there you can find. I'm not going to say what he was saying, but, he was not happy, to say the least. And that was a fight where I found it very difficult to score for Hughie Fury because he wasn't aggressive enough. And you fast forward a couple of years later to when it happens to Tyson, his own son, and there's none of that. Like, I mean, he was, if you go in, you type in John Fury, Parker versus Fury, you will hear some of the things John Fury was saying in the ring. And he was livid, livid. And there was none of that when Tyson lost. Because I think, right, although I couldn't score the fight, I couldn't in good consciousness score the fight for Hughie Fury. You could say, yeah, it was, if you wanted to, if you like what Fury was doing with Hughie, you could give him a couple of rounds. So maybe. And that indicates to me that John Fury saw it as a competitive fight and he gave it to Hughie Fury. And that's why he was so vocal and animated. He wasn't like that post Fury Usyk. I remember the 15 rounder well. Dooku Kim, that certainly contributed for a reduction to 12. But they continued quite a few years after it. You know, I remember watching the Dooku Kim Boom Boom Mancini documentary. And I'm sure it's still on YouTube. It was mega viewing. It really was. And obviously Boom Boom Mancini meeting Dooku Kim's son. I mean, it was incredible, really, when you watch it. And they were saying, like, Dooku Kim was willing to leave it all in the ring to become champion. And honestly, it's an incredible watch, the Boom Boom. And it's a tragic ending, obviously. And it really affected Ray Mancini following on from that. But I believe it was the 14th round that Dooku Kim went down in. And obviously, a bit of 12 rounder, never would have happened. I'm skeptical whether this fight happens. Yeah, he is looking heavy. He is. And you know, I was in the Element group last night. I seen people commenting saying, oh, he's looking in better shape. I'm like, he's wearing a black leather jacket. That is designed to keep you kind of, you know, well, it's not really designed to keep you looking slim, but it does do a good job covering up. Fury's like a schoolboy who fakes a stomachache to stay off school so he can sit around playing PlayStation all day. I'm not convinced he'll go through with the rematch. Maybe all this, you know, Usyk is this, Usyk is that, is just him getting ready, you know, getting ready to pull something. Who knows? I do tend to think we will get it. I do. We don't want to hear. No, we do. But in fairness, you're spot on. We genuinely don't want to hear anything from John Fury. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one because he's just, yeah, John Fury is. And the weirdest thing is, though, about John Fury, you'd think he would be around because he loves the attention, which is weird, isn't it? How do you reckon Ball gets on against Figueroa, Espinosa, Rabasi? Do you know what? Let me just share my screen here for 2 secs. Maybe I don't want to do that. I was going to try and share it there, but I don't think it's going properly. Make sure you click on model. Right there a second. I'll try and share that again. We want the box right. There we go. We want the box rec page and share. Okay. And we don't want it like that. We want it. Yeah, I think we want it. No, we don't. We don't want that. Oh, man. I think I'm after messing up a lot on here. All right. We'll try that one more time. All right. One more time to screen share. So I'm making this screen share very flipping hard, right? So box rec is on there. What's it look like on your guys' screen? Let me know how that looks there. Can you see that? Okay, you can see it. You can now see that. Surely, there we go. So, as you can see there, Nick Ball fought Ronnie Rios last night. Now, for me, that was a particularly good fight. I enjoyed it. A bit harsh. Like, yeah, Nick Ball was in control. I mean, that scorecard right there is a bit harsh. Very harsh. I mean, you could give Ronnie Rios maybe 2 rounds in it. I would say that scorecard there is more kind of accurate. But I thought, and look at that. I mean, just look at that. This was for the WBA featherweight title. But of course, BoxRec, the guys who are the boxing database, they don't have it listed there, which is complete just nonsense. I don't know why they do that, but yeah. But yeah, I thought Nick Ball looked well. That is what, his 5th fight in about a year. So you look at that right here, BoxRec here, November 2022. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights in 2 years. 2 years. It's pretty good going. And they're all, look at that. Isaac Dogbay is not a bad fighter. Ray Vargas, he should have won. Ford, yeah, you could make a case that maybe that wasn't, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But yeah, he has been active as hell. And that card was really good. Like that fight right there, Henry Turner, Jack Rafferty, that was a really good scrap. I mean, that was a proper scrap. That was a really good fight. I like what I'm seeing with this guy. Herrera, he looks good. He looks good. Andrew Kane, that was a kind of a nothing win. That was a big KO by Brad Strand. Big KO. Who else was there? I didn't see Walter Fury, but I heard a few people say, I think he's a relation of Team Fury because I saw someone make reference to it that they weren't too impressed with him. I mean, I said, look at that, right? I mean, God damn. I mean, they are journeymen if ever you see one. And they probably have hardly any stoppage losses. Like, how many stoppage losses this guy had? Oh, all right. Not signed in. But yeah. So that was Nick Ball last night. I thought it was a good fight, though, to be fair. I thought it was a good fight. How to watch Bivol Beterbiev without the zone subscription? Well, I mean, you could always just click on that link, help your boy out. You could always do that. I'm just saying. I think Beterbiev wins for a few reasons. He clocked a lot of pendulum steps in his arm, and he can shift so good. Yep, that should really be co-main event in it, in my opinion. I think if it's not co-main event, then I'll be very unhappy with that. Because yes, I will say that a world title fight should be high up the card, but that fight is brilliant, and that fight is a main event in of itself. 85 in the building, by the way. So if you haven't already, just please consider hitting the old like button. Hit the old like button. We've only got over 30 likes, 85 concurrent viewers, and only 30 likes. So you're telling me there's over 50 people who haven't hit your boy's like button. Come on, you just gotta hit that like button. Give it a jab like David Price on screen. He had some jab. Give it a jab like David Price. There you go. Being stopped from Fury finishing Fury. Yeah. I can see why the referee did let it go, to be fair. But yeah, there are a lot, and all I'll say is if it had been the other way around, who knows what would have happened there. Who do you fancy out of Wardley Clarke? Where does the winner and loser go? I will do a prediction video for that, but I'm fancying Wardley to win. Clarke surprised me. He surprised me. He was I never really rated Fraser Clarke, to be honest with you. And he always kind of spoke to me anyway, as if he kind of knew himself, right? I'm not going to go a million miles in the sport. I'm not going to go and be, challenging these guys for undisputed or anything like that. He always seemed to kind of know where his kind of ceiling was, which is a bit like Johnny Fisher in a way. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that Clarke put a big performance in there last time out. And I don't know if he can go and he can do another performance like that, but I don't know if he can find more levels, more gears. I think Wardley can. Allegedly, anyway. And that's why I laugh when Fury says, oh, well, everything's against me. It's like, mate, they will do anything to make Fury Joshua. Maybe not so much now because it's not as big a fight, but yeah. I mean, BoxRec. So BoxRec I want to say about 2 months ago, they stopped recognizing the WBA as a legit sanctioning body. Now, BoxRec is just a database, but they pride themselves on being, the boxing database. I mean, you literally can go back to the 1800s and find, information on BoxRec, events, photos. I love looking at fighters from like the 1920s and then some of the photos on BoxRec that they have. They're amazing. They really are. I like BoxRec for that. But to act as though the WBA, their history just doesn't exist anymore is just ridiculous. Like, I mean, to not put down that Nick Ball versus Ronnie Rios was for the WBA title is just a joke. Clarke has had some coaching from Lennox Lewis, but so did Deontay Wilder. That didn't in the past. That didn't really help out Wilder. You think Matias could beat Roberto Ramirez? I think there's plenty at world level Matias could still beat. I really do. If Fury was to pull out of the rematch, do you think Usyk just retires? Well, that's a good question, actually. And to be honest with you, I hadn't actually thought about that, to be honest. It's a very good question. I would say that most likely, if Usyk does carry on, he'll probably look to do undisputed again. He'll probably fight Dubois, but let's wait and see. Let's wait. I haven't thought about that, to be honest with you. Usyk is going down. He fears Fury. He'll pull out. Yeah. Next, the fairy tale ending is Fury beats Usyk and Joshua knocks Dubois out cold. I mean, that's the fairy tale for the boxing establishment. No, I haven't actually. I haven't seen it yet. A few people have been telling me, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. Stephen Fulton, big up to the 286 project. Big up to you, my man. Stephen Fulton is balls mandatory. How do you think that fight will go? Stephen Fulton looked very poor last time out. He was saying he had things going on, but he looked very poor last time out. Based off of that, you would make ball favorite. Fury is so bitter about the defeat. He's still not giving Usyk credit for the victory and still saying his toughest fight was Wilder. Yeah, I mean, and I think he's saying that because he's trying to make it out as though, obviously Wilder was this invincible, mythological puncher and this, that, and the other, when in reality, I mean, you see the way his career has gone in the last couple of years. It's not aging well that way. And Fury, the whole build up to that fight, it was Fury trying to convince himself that, he's going to win, he's going to do this. And in the end, I mean, I think for Fury to accept that he just got beat by the better man, and he knew Usyk was going to be trouble. And I think that's why he kicked the can down the road for 2 years and was so angry towards Usyk. I mean, angry as hell towards Usyk. And it's almost like with Fury, it's kind of like, now I have to do this again. Now I have to do this again. 92 in the building, by the way. If you haven't already, please hit the old like button. It takes a split second. Yeah, it could really went either way, that fight, to be honest with you. Ford seemed to hurt Ball way more than Ford ever got hurt. I don't think it's co-main. I think they're going to go and do Massey versus Opataya. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's what they're going to do. I mean, you got to remember, they were going to do Shakur Stevenson as co-main. And actually, I think, and I hope I'm wrong, but there's a good chance that Wardley Clarke might actually be even on before Eubank versus Sarah. I mean, I think there's a very good chance they could do that. I hope not, because it deserves to be co-main. Certainly, it deserves to be on after Eubank Sarah. But I wouldn't be waiting for that fight. I think it could be on a bit earlier. Yeah, Walter Fury looks okay. Needs to get a move on. He had some skills, but nothing jumps out that hints at anything special. Yeah, the Fury family, Tyson seemed to get all the talent out of all of them, because Tommy is rubbish. Huey has a little bit of talent, but last time out, Huey Fury is 30 years old. He's never taken a beating in the ring, but he looked like an old man in there last time out. It was really strange. I was looking at him and I was like, this isn't the Huey Fury I remember. Who do you think is the best fighter in Britain at the moment? That's a very, very good question. That's a very good question. I would have said maybe Lee Wood at one point, but he's been inactive and we don't know what way he's looking right now. Best fighter in Britain. That's actually a really, really good question. Let's I want to go on box rec there for a sec. You got Lee Wood is ranked number 1. Oh, I think that's just, we should do pound for pound in Britain. Hamza Shiraz, Dubois. Hamza Shiraz is ranked number 1 pound for pound in Britain. That's crazy. I would say it's very difficult, really, because everyone on that list, I would have said at one point Lee Wood, but I don't really know what he's like. Jack Catterall, yeah, Jack Catterall you could make the case for, but I wouldn't. I don't really know. Boazzi, possibly, but it's a hard one now. It really is. Clarke is knocking Wardley out. Come on, boys. Big up. I don't know anything about you, G-Man, but after watching Beterbiev losing against Vodcek in the KO and close one against Anthony Yard, I think it's just going to be an 8-4 win for Bivol, maybe something like that. Oh, it could very well be, man. It absolutely could very well be. Someone in the chat just really hates KSI. You must hate him, man, to put that down. Do you want to see the poor boy get killed? Could you imagine? Poor lad would be one jab and he'd be sleeping for days. What about Australia? But that'd be actually really interesting. It'd be really interesting, actually, now you mention it. I would take Paro, I'd take Hughes, and I would take Apataya. And no, they're not all matchroom fighters, to be fair. But I would go with Australia to win that. Yeah, I would go with Australia to win that. I would take Paro and I would take Hughes, but I would then take Apataya to be Billum Smith. And if you wanted to add maybe, I know he's from New Zealand. I was going to say Joseph Parker, but he's New Zealand. So we can't go there. Who else is there? Australia. If you wanted to add maybe Tim Zhu at 154 against Josh Kelly, but I wouldn't be picking Josh Kelly in that fight, to be fair. So let's ignore that one. Please do click the like button. There's 96 people in the building. So please, if you haven't already, help your boy out. Click that like button, please. Please. There any Australian middleweights that you could put in that, really? Yeah, he looked half shot. He really did. Now, he tweeted something to say he had some personal stuff going on or words to that effect. So, I mean, okay, but like, no, he didn't look good. Even the G-Man, we're 6 days away from the biggest fight in the sport. I'm picking Beterbiev, but not confidently. Mate, I 100% see where you're coming from with that. I've been going back and forth. There was a time, mate, I was convinced Beterbiev would win. And then I was like, but Bivol, his movement. And if put it like this, if this fight had happened in June when it was meant to have happened, I would have picked Beterbiev. I would have. Now I'm kind of like, who do I pick? So it's a tricky one. Beterbiev would do to Bivol what Crawford did to Spence. Gets far too much credit for beating the smaller Canelo. Yeah, Canelo was very slow-footed. He always has been. And you could really see it when Canelo fought someone who had the footwork and movement of Bivol. Canelo's slow feet. He always had slow feet. But it's not been as much of a factor at 168. It's a factor against Bivol. Fury approaching the rematch is displaying all the worst characteristics, denial and disrespect, which both stinks of desperation. Reminds me of how Iron Mike had to rely on theatricals after facing LL. Well, that's it. And it's going to be interesting to see. You know, again, as I say, when he sees Usyk again, when he's seen him at the Joshua fight, he was very respectful. And that's the thing about Tyson Fury. You know, for me, when I see someone, if you don't like someone, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to like everybody. That's A-okay. But when you see people and they're just so disrespectful online and they're calling them a rabbit and this, that, and the other, but then when you see him in person, like Fury goes with Usyk, how did you beat both of them? You're a legend. You're like, Fury was railroaded into fighting Usyk. The Saudis paid so much money he couldn't refuse. That's why he was angry, I think. So do I. I think that as well. I think that when he beat Dillian Whyte, and I've said this before and I'll stand by it, when he beat Dillian Whyte in Wembley Stadium, that to me was like Fury checking out mentally of top level fighting. That's how it seemed to me. It was like, I am going to check out mentally of fighting the best. You know, this is my man, the tree, and then that's it. Because he said he was retiring, and there seemed to be somewhat of a truth to it. And what I gather from that is that he wasn't retiring as in I'm hanging the gloves up. It's a real case of that's me calling time on fighting, you know, the contenders, the cream of the crop. I'm going to try and milk this belt for all I can. Make a payday against Chisora, have a fight against Ngannou, maybe another MMA guy, maybe see if another contender is looking rocky or loses and wins shaky, or see if Joshua gets aged, something like that. That seemed to be what he was looking to do. And instead, the pressure came to make Undisputed, and he didn't. Then the check from the Saudis came in, the backlash he was getting online, and it's like, okay, now I'm stuck in this situation where I have to fight the guy. I don't want to, but I have to. And now I'm angry. Yeah, I'm making a lot of money, but I'm angry. Mark says Catrell. Hamza Shearers could very well be. I know he's not particularly the best. Yeah, he certainly has. You know, CBS showed what if you take that loss, if you improve on it, if you stay in the gym and stay disciplined. I mean, you'll do great things. I mean, he lost to Riakporhe 5 years ago. Richard Riakporhe in a very competitive fight, it has to be said. Riakporhe was 9-0 at the time. CBS fought Craig Glover. He was actually, I think, managed by Tony Bellew. I think he was from Liverpool, and Bellew was bigging him up. He fought then on one of the fight camps in 2020. Fought Vacheslav, how do you say that? Dunkar. Beat him over points, or beat him over 10 rounds. He's only been stopped once, to be fair. So quite a tough guy, actually. Who did stop him? It was Mike Perez, and it was a corner retirement. So pretty tough guy, actually, to be fair. He had that fight against Tommy McCarthy where, you know, all right, he could have looked better, but he did what he needed to do. Rematch McCarthy looked a lot better. Beat Isaac Chamberlain. Had that win. And he looked a bit rocky in that fight against Ahmed. I can't even pronounce his last name, but he looked a little bit, at times. Beat Tokoli, good win. Looked really rocky against Mastanak. Really, really rocky. But Riakporhe, who had he been? I mean, just you see that resume and you're like, fair enough, he's been doing very, very, very well. I mean, Riakporhe beat CBS. The win over Jack Massey has aged quite well. But look at who he was like. He's out of the ring for 2 years. And who has he fought since then? A washed up Krzysztof Glowacki is the best guy he's fought. A washed up Krzysztof Glowacki. While Bill Smith was trying to better himself, Riakporhe was doing nothing. Yeah, I go with Hamza Shiraz getting knocked out. Interesting. What do you think the February announcement between Hearn and Warren is likely to be? Well, I would say they're in because I knew before Joshua versus Dubois, like before the fight took place, I knew there was a date in February for a boxing event, but we didn't know what it was. I'm wondering, is it Queensbury Matchroom Part 2? Because as Frank and Eddie said, I mean, Boxer aren't going to do it. I think Boxer like the fact that they're working with the Saudis, but I would imagine they're going to be reluctant. I'd say because Benchlam seemed very reluctant to play ball, and I can't see that stopping. Salute the G-Man, thank you. The age is a factor. It's something we definitely need to factor in. Should rename the channel the Tyson Fury Hate Club. The man who calls everyone every name under the sun, who calls Usyk ugly, a rabbit, but yet you point out the inconsistencies in his story. That is hate. Brilliant. Fury has earned all the hate he gets. I don't even call it hate. I just call him people just calling out his BS. I mean, define hate. Define it. If someone tells you the sky is green and you say it's blue, you can't turn around and just say, oh, he's such a hater. It's like, well, it's not green. And you saying it is wrong. Simple as. Salute the G. What thoughts on the vibes from Fury? I'm not liking it at all. Feels like he's learned nothing from the first fight. It does. It doesn't feel like he's learned anything, but I do think he's going to be more aggressive this time around. And that could make the fight a lot more interesting, and it could make it a tougher night for said Oleksandr Usyk. I say it could. Might not. We have to wait and see. Adam Azim is catching Ohara Davis at the right time. Yeah. Listen, I remember when Ohara Davis came along first. I remember him with the blonde hair, actually. And I have to say, he came across as a bit of a you-know-what. Didn't come across a particularly nice guy. But I thought he looked good. He was matched very well in the sense of, well, how would you describe it? He was made look good against guys like Derry Matthews, who were at the end of their career. I think Matthews retired after that fight. And you thought, okay, maybe. Maybe. I remember when Indongo beat Ricky Burns and Eddie Hearn was being interviewed. You had Ohara Davis there with Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn was like, you'll be the guy to, sort all this. And this before, obviously, he fought Crawford. But you got the impression that Hearn thought very highly of Ohara Davis too. And then, he runs into Josh Taylor, gets completely outclassed by Josh Taylor. Okay, Josh Taylor, that loss aged pretty well because of what Taylor went on to do. The Cattrall fight was awful. It was just, honestly, it was awful. I wouldn't recommend anyone watch it. But, you lost, but it wasn't like, It wasn't a devastating loss. It was just a stinker of a fight that could have went either way. That's simple as. And then he goes in there against Barroso. He tries to rebuild himself. He wins that silly little golden contract tournament that really didn't do anything for anybody. It really didn't do anything for anyone, that golden contract tournament. I mean, what did the winner even get? Didn't get anything. And since then, it's just been what's going on. You know, he has that very bad fight against what was his name? Herrera or something like that, where he clearly lost, but the referee gave it to him. Then he gets knocked out by an ancient Ishmael Barroso in the first round. So I would say, yeah, he's probably being caught at the right time. But he has big punching power. So never rule that out. He does deserve a lot of credit. Did you see that? Did anyone see the video Regis Prograde posted on X today, where he was saying that he's finding it a little bit strange and worrying that him and Jack Catterall have only been tested once by VADA, and that in the run-up to his previous fight, which was obviously against Devin Haney, he was tested 6 times by VADA. And he's not saying like he's afraid, he's not going to pull out, but he just feels that that's a bit strange that they paid for VADA testing. Last time around, they were tested, 6 times in the run-up to the fight, but this time only once. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one now, I have to say. And he also mentioned in that, like, that was in America, obviously, when he fought Haney. He's like, this is in the UK. Why am I only being tested once? It's an interesting one, to be fair. What do you make of her and consistently joke about Warren going to see him to wind up Ben Shalom? Yeah, listen, I've heard things on the grapevine. I've heard things, and I I don't want to. How do I word it? Like, Ben Whitaker is set for life with Sky. He's set for life already. He could retire if he wanted to, and he's good. He's good. If it wasn't the case, he'd be a matchroom fighter. That's the best way I can word it. Honestly, it's just that picture is going to haunt David Price the rest of his life. I do. I have a soft spot for them as well. They're not born with unbelievable talent. They just work extremely hard. Yeah, I feel for Tyler Denny. I really do. I really do. I thought he deserved better than that, to be honest with you. I like Tyler Denny very much. I love the story. I love the fact. I love seeing a fighter who he's not thought highly of. He's in the away corner, but he just grinds and grinds and grinds. And he does. Now, Tyler Denny, European champion, that's nothing to turn your nose up at. And you hear these fighters who win like a WBO European title, and they're like, what was your career highlight? Oh, I was European champion. No, you weren't. You won a little tricket WBO or IBF European title that meant nothing. The full EBU title means something. And it's a shame that he went in there against Hamza Shear. I get why he took the fight, but Denny is a good fighter. And I think he's still got a lot left to offer. I hope he does. I'd like to see him make a run of it again, because I think Tyler Denny is a great guy. Never met him, but he seems an absolute great guy. So hopefully he can do something. He'll lift him clean off the ground. I never knew that saying. Yeah. That man, I've been saying some of those things for years and years and years. Years and years and years. I've been saying some of those things long before YouTube. Does anyone else think Usyk seems to be getting slower with every fight? Oh, yeah, definitely. But that's going to happen with age. It's inevitable. It's the way it is, man. No, man, that is the actual photo of David Price. That's the actual unedited photo of David Price. It's a big what if, isn't it? If Price had a chin. I don't think, listen, it's not even a big what if, really, when you think about it. If Price had a better, Vladimir Klitschko didn't have a good chin, but he was able to cover it. Price mentally now, he just didn't have it. And you can blame Frank Maloney for the matchmaking. I don't blame Frank Maloney for putting him in there with Tony Thompson. I really don't. I blame Frank Maloney for putting him straight back in with Tony Thompson, because that absolutely ruined him. Like, that absolutely ruined David Price, that rematch. The first fight, you made a mistake, you paid for it, it happens. Bring him back slowly, rebuild him, and then have him fight Tony Thompson. not straight away an immediate rematch. So Frank Maloney should never have done that. He should never, never, never have done that. Big up to MVG. Hey, G man, you think Warren is mad because Yard is going to Boxer? He did an interview on Talksport today. I have to have a listen to it, mate, because I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised. I think that Anthony Yard going to Boxer is a strange one for me. It's a strange one for me. It really is. Oh, mate, to be fair, I will say about Joe Joyce, I think Joe Joyce is not the most articulate, and he does kind of lose his thoughts sometimes. So I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about that. I know he's taken a few shots and stuff like that, but I wouldn't worry too much. Haney got Conte on side, probably why VADA tested Progress so much. Yeah, it's a good point. As a legit contender or just the guy who got the shock win? Well, I think Andy Ruiz had the potential to, I think he had the potential to go and make another run, but lazy, made his money, and look, never had the discipline and all the talent in the world. You don't have the discipline, head's not in it. That's what it is. Ruiz is done, man. He's done. If Warrington doesn't retire, what do you think his final fight should be against? That'd be a good fight, actually, him against Conlon, to be fair. I'd like to see him go out with a win. One last fight up there in Leeds. Him against Conlon actually be a really intriguing fight. I wouldn't mind. I'd actually watch that. I think that'd be a really good fight. Him against Mick Conlon. I'd watch it. 100%. Tyler Denny is inspiration to small hall fighters looking to create a legacy. He's in the record books as EBU champion. And that's what I'd be saying to him. I'd be saying, mate, there are fighters who know their limit in the nicest way. They know their limit. And for them to be EBU champion, that is like a world title to them. To actually say European champion, top 15, that would be phenomenal for some fighters. For some fighters, that would literally be, yep, I'll never be a world champion, but it's the next best thing. So there is nothing to be ashamed about. EBU champion. That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. There are fighters who just think if I could win an area title, I'd be happy. You were EBU champion. No one can ever, ever, ever take that away from Tyler Denny. It's an incredible achievement. I have a lot of time for Tyler Denny. I like him. I like him a lot. And I really hope he can rebuild because he still has plenty left. A lot of time for Tyler Denny. Really do. Well, the last few performances by Ben Whittaker, he hasn't flattered to impress, to be honest with you. Yep, fair point about Vlad's chin. You can, and the actual thing is, David Price was bigger than Vlad. He wasn't as talented, but he was bigger than Vlad. So you could protect that. He had a decent jab. He had a big right hand. You could protect that fragile chin. You could do that. But with Pricey, it was always mental with him. Like physically, yes, the chin was an issue. He did have poor punch resistance. There's no ifs or buts about that. He did. But it was mental. And he would fatigue himself, not by throwing too many shots, but when a fight got tough, he would, a bit like Joshua actually, would overthink things. He would stress in the ring and he would be gone. Like you'd see him, he'd be out of it in terms of, physically, he'd be just spent. And it's not even been fought at a frantic pace. Pricey in the nicest way was the guy who could snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. He should have won that Christian Hammer fight. I don't know how he lost it. Erkin Tepa is another drug cheat. Yeah, I remember that fight very well. Very, very well. I remember that fight. It was on a Friday night on Box Nation, July 2015. I remember it very well. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was for the EBU title. And Erkin Tepa went in there. And that first round, he did everything bar drop and stop Price. He battered him in that first round. Price never touched down. And then he took him out in the second round. I mean, that was a lethal knockout. And if I'm not mistaken, Erkin Tepa, not long after that, we obviously know he was a drug cheat, but I think he had so much stuff in his house that apparently was it the German authorities raided it? I'm nearly sure that happened, that the place actually got raided. And People, if you've ever seen Erkin Tepa, because some of you, because his career just went into obscurity after he got popped. If you had seen Erkin Tepa on Fight Night, in fact, actually, let's just Erkin Tepa. If you'd seen this guy on Fight Night, you would never in your wildest dreams have thought that this guy was a drug cheat. You would never in your wildest dreams. Like, here's a picture on screen. I'm just going to share my screen here real quick. All right. You see that there? That's the guy. That's the guy. That's him on Fight Night. That was him after he knocked out David Price. So I think that might not have, no, maybe it was that one. And there's poor Pricey. Look at that. Good Lord. That was some knockout. But look at him. You would never think that that was the guy who, and it wasn't just one substance. Apparently, this guy was on all sorts of stuff, like really, really bad. Like really, really bad. And yeah, that was over in Germany. And he knocked out David Price. Yeah, that was Erkin Tepa. Never heard of him after that then. Got knocked out by Hellenius, actually. Big up, G-Man. Big up to Daniel. Oh, Yard is not going to be fighting. See, that's the frustrating thing about Anthony Yard. And that, to me, is just what's so irritating about Anthony Yard. Because I like Anthony Yard as a person. I think he's a cool guy. I've nothing against him. It's so irritating that you have a fighter as talented as him. And it's a step-up fight. And then it's like, straight back to prospect stage. That's literally what it's like. It's like straight back to prospect stage. Match him against some absolute no-hoper who he should be beating. And it's just flipping frustrating. He's 33. He's a grown man. He's a big boy. He needs to be fighting some better guys. Would not confirm or deny. That is interesting. Let's wait and see what happens there. Oh, yeah, man. I mean, to be confirmed is like Frank Warren. I was going to say Frank Warren, but it's actually Anthony Yard's go-to guy, isn't it, when you think about it? Are there any bigger punchers than David Price? Oh, he had great power. He had really, really, really good power. I mean, Pricey's power was legit. It absolutely was. But it's not enough, isn't it? I mean, like, punching power is great to have. It can take you places. But it's just one thing, you know? Yeah, they have actually, haven't they? You would think that the Saudis would be jumping on Kabayel. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they looked at Arsenal Makhmadov and thought, how good were you? Maybe they looked at Frank Sanchez and thought, yeah, you beat him, but you beat an injured Frank Sanchez. So how good is that win? It's a strange one. You'd think he'd be at the top of their list because I know he's had fights that weren't fun to watch, but those last two fights are very good. Powers of recovery, chin stamina are two different things, right? People mix up the two with Joshua. Yeah, like powers of recovery would be Tyson Fury, Tony Bellew. You could drop both those guys, but they recover fairly quick. You know, obviously there are exceptions. Like Bellew never recovered from Adonis Stevenson when Adonis Stevenson dropped them. Fury couldn't really, he recovered. Well, Usyk let him off the hook as well, I think. But he was never that hurt before in his career like he was against Usyk. So they can get hurt, but they can recover. Joshua is worse because you can hurt him, and when you hurt him, he stays hurt. You know? So it's not good. Not good if you're Anthony Joshua. Ajay Kabayel. Hang on a sec. I just want to move something. There we go. Just wanted to doing this up here is trickier than doing it in the living room. Put it like that. Because you try and like reach for something and there's things all in the way, and all I'm trying to do is just get a drink of water. But yeah. He does have a shot. So I don't know if I'd necessarily pick him, but yeah, is the version of Mick Foley. Too nice for the business. And we saw that although Foley would kill himself at times, Price was both. Mate, Watch the space. That's what I'll say on that one. I know it's sorted, right? The whole thing is sorted, but I'm not going to give anything away. So just watch the space. Just watch the space, man. Just watch the space. Yeah, Ali was a good. That's the problem, man. Ali had good chin and good powers of recovery. I'm putting my stamp on it now. Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one, man. Prime John Fury versus. Oh, man. Prime John Fury, definitely. 100%, man. Mark Demori learned how to box on YouTube. Like, Prime John Fury every day. 100%. Mark Demori was garbage, man. Like, this guy was garbage. I don't know how he got that Saudi payday. I checked. It's quite remarkable, really, how he got that Saudi payday, but he did. But no, John Fury every day, man. 100%. I wouldn't even hesitate that. No, if you're talking about like John Fury in his peak, I'd probably take him. Yeah, I probably would take him over to Murray. I probably would. I probably would. People, I wanted to keep this just under an hour. It flew by, but you know me, I don't like doing the lives too long, especially when I've got stuff to get done. But people, I will leave it there. Thank you all, one and all, for locking in. I enjoyed this, man. I enjoyed this. I'd love to know how much he got. Whatever he got, that was too much. That's what I will say on that one. But I'm going to leave it here. I have the next few days off, so I'm going to try and get some videos recorded tonight and tomorrow, and just watch the space. That's what I got to say on that one. Joe Stunner Boxing knows what it's at. You know, you know what it's at, man. You know what it's at. But watch the space. We'll see how things go. And as JD says, peace out, G-Man, and peace out, Joe Stunner. Still 92 in the building. If you're leaving, please do consider hitting the like button. I mean, it's free. Like, you know, it is free. And there, you know, 60 likes. Joe Stunner, more than anything, John Fury has got. Man, I would be picking a prime Joe Stunner over Mark Demori. 100%, man. That's a compliment, man, as well. So big up to everyone in the chat. Hope you enjoyed it. People, I will chat to you on Review of the Week tomorrow morning. Until then, I'll chat to you, man. Have a great Sunday evening. Enjoy the remainder of it. Keep safe and peace out.